Well, good evening, and thank you so very much for that kind introduction, Sanjay. Very, very much appreciate that. And I also want to acknowledge AIF for the good work that they do on a daily basis to make such an impact on people's lives. So my heartfelt thanks for what you do on a daily basis. And also for helping bridge the two democracies, the largest two democracies on this planet, in this world. Even though there may be some very tumultuous relationships between the two nations, but the work that you do certainly helps bridge that gap. And I also want to thank, and I can't move further without thanking the people that put this event together. You know, there are perhaps numerous numbers of hours gone into putting this together. So can I have you just give them a very big and a warm round of applause? Thank you. I'm not trying to follow Sudhakar's thing with my notes as well, so. Well, wonderful. So we as Asian Americans, we have been part of the American landscape since 1790. You may not know your own history, but I've done some research, and I have to tell you, I'm a student of our diaspora in this nation, this great nation. And since 1790, we've had Indians working on the largest shipyards in Salem, Massachusetts. And then in 1851, there were 7 Indians that took part in the 4th of July parade in Salem as well, under the banner East India Marine Society. And since then, since those very early times in our republic, I have to say that we very quietly have permeated in the society and the economy by making some very significant contributions, whether it be military, whether it be the military-industrial complex, whether it be science and technology, whether it be entrepreneurship and business, whether it be medicine or education or transportation. We have significantly helped move our nation's agenda forward, and we're very proud of that. Thank you. You know, we are the proud sons and daughters of immigrants that migrated to this country, to this great nation, for a better life for themselves, their kids, grandkids, and perhaps you're one of them. And my story, my personal story, resonates with that as well. It's a small narrative around that big idea of the wave of immigration that came into this nation. My parents came to this country in the early 70s with $64 in their pocket, and many of you probably have that same story as well. And we settled in Maryland, and we're still in Maryland. It's my home state now. I went to University of Maryland, public school education, and stayed in Maryland, just left for a 3-year period to get my master's in Boston, then I came back. And I graduated University of Maryland, started working with a company called EDS. Anyone remember Ross Perot? And Ross Perot's company was the first information technology firm that grew extremely large on this one simple premise that you as an organization don't have to do your own data processing. And I was part of their advanced technology group. And I remember that, very vividly remember actually, and I'll tell you why, that EDS got acquired by GM in 1984. And the purpose of the acquisition was very simple. GM was building its own data processing capability, but they found EDS to be a really good match, and thus the acquisition. And as part of the advanced technology group, we were 80 of us, and one day, early in 1985, my manager pulled us, all 80 of us together, and said, pack your bags, because you're all going to Detroit. You know, I'd been recently married, newlyweds. And so I came home and I talked to my wife, and she says, you know, people don't move into Detroit. They move out of Detroit. So next morning, I'm confident that I'm going to go tell my manager, people don't move into Detroit. They move out of Detroit. So I'm sitting in my manager's office, and I say, people don't move into Detroit. They move out of Detroit. And her face dropped, jaw dropped, and I was escorted out the door. Because her fear was that I was going to infect the other 79 people and she would not get incented. But as things go, it was a great blessing in my life. I got to start my own company, and today we're one of the very few firms that build weapon systems and precision-guided munitions from an engineering standpoint for the U.S. Army. So we're very, very proud of that. And this brings me to the point of why it's so important to make a difference in people's lives. Not because I started a company, but the fact that, as Secretary Stoney said, we have a sacred duty not just to do things in India, but also in our local communities. So I very strongly believe that when Governor Larry Hogan won, he was looking for executives that would come to help turn Maryland around. And it's really fascinating for me because I've always been in private sector. I've supported the federal sector as a contractor, but never on that side. And so when he won, he asked me if I would be interested in doing some public service. And I said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means. And like a good husband, I came home and we talked and we talked and we talked again. This was not a Detroit conversation. This was, this would be a good thing to do. And I remember very distinctly when Governor Hogan said, I'm really happy you're going to do this, but what I'd like you to do is to take on the toughest, the most underperforming, yet the most valuable department in the state, which is the Health and Human Services. And this notion of that a private sector executive can actually turn a public assistance agency around is fascinating to me. And I have no background in Health and Human Services, but I do have some experience in building organizations and helping turn them around. The first thing that I noticed when we walked in there is that the passion of state employees who deliver the public assistance engine for the state of Maryland are the most passionate people ever. DHR, the department that I'm working in right now, is the social safety net for over 1.2 million Marylanders a year. And the reason why that's significant is because that's 20% of our population. That means 1 in 5 people are on public assistance, and yet Maryland, by the per capita household income, is the wealthiest state in the nation. It's phenomenal to know that we, actually, I can only say for myself and my family, that we were living in a bubble. And most of us live in a bubble. So my humble appeal to you is that let's not just support the work that we do in India, and that's a very, very good cause. And I will certainly support that, and I have been supporting that. But I also invite you to take a look at your own personal communities in a way where you can make a difference. In India, the underbelly is right in front of you. You can come out of a 5-star hotel and you can see that right in front of you. But in this nation, it's not in front of you. You have to look for it, but it's there. Every single night, there are children that go to sleep hungry. There's mental health issues that plagues this nation. There's drug addiction, there's homelessness. And I think if we, those of us that have and that are truly blessed, have an opportunity to make a difference, not just in India, but here as well. So with that, thank you so very much. And let me give it back to you, Omi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.